I've seen lots of really horrible maps in all my years of playing D&D. Crap, I myself have probably made 90% of those really awful maps myself. Myself, yeah, I did it. I'm bad too. I'm not perfect. Anyway, today we'll be talking about the 10 things all D&D maps should have and why. Number 1, the map should make architectural sense. Have you ever seen those old school dungeon maps that have a bunch of random rooms connected by a bunch of random corridors? You know, the ones that look like a hot, sloppy mess and leave you wondering who in the world would have ever built something like this and why? By the way, random dungeon map generator programs often give you maps like this for what it's worth. Okay, so maybe there are some crazy creatures out there that might possibly build structures like this, but probably not that many. Nonsensical maps should be the exception, not the norm. Most creatures that have the ability and skill to build structures also have the sense to design them with a purpose and in such a way that they make architectural sense. So, no random corridors that bend and weave all over the map and only serve to connect the same 3 rooms, unless there is a very good reason for why they were made that way. This also means that all the rooms should have a purpose. Even if kobolds took over a dungeon originally made by dwarves, the kobolds will have purposes for the various rooms, even if they are different from what the dwarves used them for. Remember to keep your adventure theme in mind as you make the map. Is it a temple, a fortification, a castle? Great! That will heavily influence how you design your map and the various rooms you'll include. And consider the material from which the dungeon is constructed. Castles might use lots of stone, but a tavern is likely to be mostly wood. Just be careful with making anything out of wood in D&D, because the very first thing your players are gonna wanna do is set it on fire and burn it down. You know they will. Don't look at me like that. It's true. Okay, that's fair, setting things on fire. But Luke, what about natural caverns, under the ground and stuff? They won't necessarily make architectural sense now, will they? Yeah, thanks, genius. Obviously, natural formations are the exception, though their inhabitants will still have assigned a purpose to the rooms and areas. By the way, in case you haven't caught on yet, when I say dungeon map, I really mean a map for any location-based adventure. So it might be a tavern, the sewers under the tavern, a cave system in the side of a mountain, a castle, or the literal dungeon beneath the castle. I refer to these in general as dungeon maps for ease of reference. Number 2, the map should have multiple entrances. This is pretty simple, folks. Give your players some options for how to enter the dungeon. At least 2 ways in is good, more is better. But be careful not to overwhelm them with choices, lest they spend the next 2 hours at the game table trying to decide how to enter the dungeon. I was in a game like that a little bit where, oh, we go here, how should we get into this place? And I'm just like, guys, let's just pick one. It probably doesn't matter. And so we just picked one, and guess what? It didn't matter. I kind of did, but whatever. It got us moving is the point. And on that note, the different entrances should have pros and cons. If you go in through the front gates, you'll have to fight the mob of fire giants guarding them, but you won't have to worry about dealing with them later. However, if you go in through the volcano's mouth, you can bypass those fire giants, but you'll have to deal with the hazardous descent and risk the fire giants swarming you later on in the dungeon if they are alerted. Number 3, the map should be non-linear. Holy crap. Please, for the love of all that is holy, do not design a dungeon map that is 100% linear. That is a map that only has one path to be followed, with no options about which way to go or not go. That's just bad. I actually saw a dungeon map like this and I was like, holy crap, what a boring way to force an adventure down players' throats. When players are exploring a dungeon, they should have choices about which way to go, which rooms to check out first, which rooms to ignore, that sort of thing. This makes the adventure far more interesting and gives the players meaningful choices, instead of just railroading them down the one and only path through the dungeon map. Sorry, I get animated about this. I'm gonna go meditate for a little bit. I'll be back in a second. By the way, if you'd like to play in a D&D game with me as your dungeon master, you should check out my Patreon. Every month, I run a D&D one-shot game and I pick players from my patrons. And I swear I would never create a lame linear map just to mess with you. Of course I might. Anyway, my players also get Lair magazine every month, which is full of DM resources such as new monsters, traps, random tables, and 5th edition adventures, complete with maps designed for use on virtual tabletops. There's a beautiful little link down below, DM Lair patron. All right, I gotta calm down. Number 4, the map should have ceilings. Right now, somebody is like, Luke, you are quite possibly the dumbest person I've ever met on the internet. Of course a dungeon has ceilings. Okay, all right, fair enough. Let me clarify then. The dungeon should have ceilings of an appropriate height. Does that help? A corridor that is 5 feet wide probably doesn't have a ceiling that is 20 feet high. I mean, it might in some circumstances, but usually not. And a room that is 40 feet by 40 feet probably doesn't have a ceiling that is 10 feet high. Unless there's a good reason for it. Okay, Luke, so the point is architectural realism then? Yes, kind of, but no. There's a deeper reason. Realistic ceilings create necessary constraints for gameplay. You know that wizard who always wants to polymorph into a T-Rex? Well, it's kinda hard to do that in a dungeon designed for medium-sized creatures unless he wants to be squeezed all the time and suffer the negative consequences of that. And your party of beautiful, wonderful players who all created flying races so they could just basically fly above the bad guys, dump barrels of oil all over them, and sets them on fire? Well, that fire gets really hot for them when the ceilings are only 10 or 15 feet high now, doesn't it? Okay, so the point is to crap on players' fun then. No, I didn't say that. It's to create realistic constraints for gameplay. Rewind, I said it. Realistic constraints for gameplay. Ceilings and rooms and corridors are the reason that it is often far easier for a dungeon master to run adventures indoors than outdoors in the wilderness. They provide constraints that players need to use their noggins to work around. If you don't know what I'm talking about, run some adventures outdoors where there's tons of space, everything's wide open, and then run some indoors in dungeons, and you'll see what I'm talking about. There is a reason the majority of modules that are made for the game, and many of the games that are run, happen in dungeons or location-based events. There's a lot of really good things going on there. Number 5, the map should have interesting features. Bare rooms with nothing in them. Really? Is that all you got? Put things in those rooms that are consistent with the architectural design of the dungeon and the theme of the adventure. Nope. Sure, many of those contents will be your standard run-of-the-mill tables, chairs, beds, and whatnot. However, some of the content should be really cool things your players can explore and poke at. A flying fortress should somewhere have the control mechanisms that could cause it to crash to Earth. The secret temple to the god of death should somewhere have a room full of skulls that live on still in undeath and can reveal information to the players if they ask the right questions. I don't know, use your imagination. That's why you became a game master, right? Oh, no one else would be the game master and you got voluntold to do it? Okay, I probably don't have anything for you then. You probably just screwed. Just pack it in and go home. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Lots of people get voluntold and become game masters, even though they kind of don't want to, and then they go on and they actually like doing it. So just, you'll be okay. Just stick it through. We'll help you. Just, subscribe and like. Number 6, the map should have secret doors and areas. But Luke, every map, like every single map, must have secret doors and areas? Okay, look, if you're gonna twist everything I say to the extreme, obviously you'll be able to find holes in all of my points. So let's just calm down, shall we? Anyway, secret doors and areas are something you should strongly consider for your dungeon maps. Why? Because it reinforces the exploration pillar of D&D and rewards players who poke around the dungeon and try to find secrets and mysteries. When the rogue searches 4 rooms for secret doors and comes up empty each time, but then on the 5th room finds a secret door, well, that is a huge win for that player, and they feel great about finding that secret door. Then obviously you should have something cool and interesting and rewarding be located in that secret area. Oh yeah, now's about the time where I remind you to give this video a thumbs up and leave a comment for the algorithm down below. But no pressure, like only do it if you really want to. I mean, it's not like YouTube is going to shut my channel down if you don't do it, are they? Come on, it's easy, just click the stupid. Number 7, the maps should use elevation and 3D thinking. The Earth is not flat, just in case you haven't heard. I mean, of course, unless you're one of those flat earthers. I mean, in that case, I guess the Earth is flat for you, because what's true for you is true for you, but not necessarily for the rest of us. That's That's how the saying goes, right? Anyway, the point here is to use elevation when designing a dungeon map. Have some areas be higher or lower than others. They can be connected by stairs or ladders or ramps, just as long as it makes architectural sense based on the creatures who constructed the dungeon and the purpose for which they made it. There might be ledges along the sides of a cavern and a pit in the center of it. A castle throne room has elevated galleries to either side and a raised dais. Dais? I don't know, somebody yell at me. How do I say that word? I mean, anyway, that sorts of thing. Elevation, 3D thinking, it's good. Number 8, the map should have light sources or not. This is easy. I hope it's easy. When designing your map, decide what the light sources are and where they are located. Of course, some creatures might not use many or any light sources, and that's fair. Just make sure you consider it. Number 9, the map should be designed with interesting encounters and combats in mind. What you don't want to do, my dear realism-focused game master, which is probably my fault, is forget that when you're making a map, your real goal is to have a place where a fun adventure can take place. And key elements of most adventures are encounters and combats. So when you're designing a map, make sure you build it accordingly. For instance, imagine a narrow corridor with several secret passages connecting to it along its length. That would make for a wonderful encounter with kobolds popping out, shooting the PCs with crossbows, and then disappearing once again. Or a large room whose walls are covered with paintings. And each painting serves as a looky hole for secret areas where a beholder lurks. Then, as the group makes their way through the room, the beholder is zapping them with its eye rays from behind the paintings. Number 10, the map should have doors. and right now, someone is swearing at me through their phone or computer screen. Holy crap, Luke, this is the entire reason I clicked on your stupid thumbnail, and you wait until number 10 to actually talk about it. What can I say? I'm sorry. I'm a sleazy jerk. Please leave your angry comment down below. Yeah, leave your angry comment down below and my complaint department will review them and take appropriate action. By the way, Sonny, that's you. So yeah, get to work. Anyway, why should dungeons have doors? We've talked before about exploration being one of the pillars of the game, right? And the importance of it, right? Yeah. I think you got me by now. Well, a dungeon without doors is a dungeon ripe for disaster. That is, the potential for a large part of the exploration element of the adventure being robbed from your players. You see, when there are doors, there is mystery and drama. What lies behind the door? Should we open it? Well, there are 3 doors. Which should we go through first? But when there aren't doors, something like this might happen. The druid turns into a spider, crawls along the ceiling, and scouts out the entire dungeon over the course of the next half hour. All the other players do jack diddly squat, but watch as the druid plays the game and takes away all the mystery, drama, and suspense of what might lie ahead of them in that dungeon. Or the wizard casts Arcane Eye and does the same. Now, what you might be saying, especially if you've been that druid or wizard, is that that's the optimal thing to do. That's what a group of professional adventurers should do. That's the realistic thing to do. Scout the dungeon out so they can make the best decisions about where to go and in what order. And I 100% agree with you. It is the most optimal thing to do. It probably is what a group of professional adventurers would do. But listen carefully. It's not good for gameplay. Why? Because players who love exploration, who want the mystery and suspense, just lost out on it all. They now know almost everything there is to know about the dungeon, and the rest of the game session is going to lack its luster and shine for them. Realism is not the end-all be-all, folks. We are not running fantasy simulators, we're running fantasy games. So, placing simple doors or other appropriate obstacles in the dungeon that require players to interact with them to reveal what lies behind will help preserve the exploration pillar in the game. Number 11, the map should have floors. Woohoo! A bonus tip, number 11. Don't get too excited, calm down. I just figured that if one tip was for the dungeon to have ceilings, that another should be for it to have floors. That only makes sense, right? Or maybe there are no floors. Click on the screen now or the link down below to become a DM Lair patron, play D&D with me, and get an issue of Lair magazine every month. You could also watch another video if you want, I suppose. And until next time, put doors in your dungeons, people! And optionally floors.